Hello there, welcome to episode 0 of my new tutorial series for Dwarf Fortress. In this one I'm going to prepare the world and the mods and the embark site for the new tutorial series that I'll be making. Since this is a somewhat lengthy process and there's a lot to explain alongside, I decided to do this episode 0, so all the preparational things will be in one episode, and episode 1 will be the proper start of the embark. I already did a beginner's tutorial series, so if you're totally new to the game, check out the description box. There is a playlist link to the Let's Play tutorial series and to a playlist where I have regular tutorials in a shorter version. So this will be a Let's Play tutorial series, and we will together now create a world that will use a that will have a embark site that will be not defined by the computer but by us. So let's create a world together first. So I'll be rolling with a small world because these are fast generated, and I'm going to go for a rare mineral occurrence thing because the standard setting everywhere gives you a lot of stuff to work with. For this tutorial series I want to be a little bit more strategic, put up a bit more challenges that will have us to work a little bit differently, because I personally think that's where the fun is, but everybody might play his sandbox to his or her own liking, by all means. So we are going to use these settings, but I want to go with you together quickly into the detailed mode and explain a few of the switches that you can use to disable necromancers, werebeasts, or what was the other thing that's quite pesky? Yeah, vampires. So if we want to recreate what we got here, we need to go first here and define the size of the world. So here, small island or small region. Then you'll have to go for the end year, so you define how long the world generation process is supposed to last, and the rest of these settings are quite cryptic. You can set up a lot of different things here. We're just going to focus on how to disable certain things because this would really lead too far. Just know that the end year setting here is the one where you can define how long the computer will generate your world. So let's scroll all the way down until we hit the line for, let me a sec, it's a lot of stuff, I admit. So the next first number, yeah, here, mineral scarcity. That's the next thing that's going to be important for us. So here, the number ranges from 100 to 100,000. Weirdly enough, the higher the number, the rarer the material. So 100 is the setting for everywhere. The setting that we were using in the beginning here would be a number of 10,000. And the harshest setting that the basic world creation has is 50,000, and 100 would be the setting everywhere. So you get the idea roughly where you want to be. This way you can give a very fine tuning about how much minerals should be in your world. But let's get to the actual topic that we were after. So here is the real thing. So number of vampire curse types. If we set that to 0, no more vampires in our world. Number of werebeast curse types, no more werebeasts in our world. And number of secret types set to 0, no more necromancers, because secrets are actually, in the current version at least, only secrets about life and death, and as soon as you learn them, you transform into a necromancer. No secrets of life and death, no necromancers. So what's really important here also to note is the moment you flick the switch to this mask, all the settings that were applied here will be no longer relevant. You either use this mask, basically the beginner's mask, or this mask. It's mutually exclusive. It confused the hell out of me, that's why I'm emphasizing it here. I originally thought that these buttons and these buttons had some... No, it's not like that. In case you were confused like me. Probably you're smarter than that. So, let's get to the mods that this series will use. 95% quality of life mods. Only one mod is a little bit gameplay influencing. So, I want to talk over these real quick, not too detailed. So audible alerts, I love everything that gives me a audio response about things happening in my fortress. See-through smoothing designations, it eases the visual clutter. Combat lock with combat sound makes a nice ringing sound when somebody dies in combat. I really have grown to like that for my orientation. Creature graphics extended makes creatures look fancier. The only thing you need to know is when it's orange like that, you need to sort it upwards in the list until it ain't orange anymore. So the work detail icons, that gives you a few more details when you assign new work job area patterns. Plant graphics, well, the name says it all. Gold or gold, because I think the basic gold looks a little bit crap. Interface tweaks gives you visibility about the hotkeys. It's pretty cool, so you don't have to look it up in the key settings. Dwarven women have beards. Well, we're not going to roll with that. I want to have beardless ladies for once. Metal plate floor. I love how the metal plates look in this one. We're going to show off on these later in the series. More food names. Fluff. I like fluff. Obvious gravings. Fluff. I like more fluff. Reduced Z fog is a pretty cool thing because without the mod, there is a pretty intense blue fog that blocks the sight. This eases the visual pain of that a little bit. And seasonish crops, now this is the one game-changing mod that I have applied. This allows you to plant all the subterranean crops year-round, because it didn't make sense for me that some crops are not plantable during winter when below the earth the weather is always the same. So it has even a balancing aspect because it makes farming a little bit more effective, and it also helps to make surface farming a little bit more interesting. So that's the mods that we're going to use for this series. Like you see, except for the farming mod, there's really nothing that is too game changing. So we're going to roll with these settings, and oh yeah, there's Dwarf Fortress Hack in the background running, this little window here. Probably I'm going to introduce that during the series also a little bit, but know one thing, DF Hack doesn't do nothing if I don't tell it to do anything, so just so you know. Now, we're going to create that world with these settings, and let's go. So my goal for this series is to give us an embark that's a little bit challenging, and so far as we're going to limit us away from iron. I want to go for a fortress that's going to use bronze as a main military metal that's been made out of copper and tin. So we're going to use that as a ways and means to make us acquainted with the world map selection here a little bit, and how to find an embarkation site that we like. So we are going to play now on this map. And in the first series, we were just accepting the embark site that the computer selected for us. This time, I'm going to show you how to select the embark site that you want to have. So we're skipping the tutorial here. Now, I have made an entire video about how the screen works, so I'm going to keep it here short and succinct for the sake of this episode. I'm going to boil it down to what we need to find what we want. So, every part of the world here would be something where we can't settle down. So finding what we want is a true pain. That's why we have the find embark location function. But the first thing I always do when I start out on a new world, I choose the origin civilization and I check out what kind of population there is behind it. Sometimes you start with a world where the game sets you by default on a civilization that has almost no population left, leading to a very low amount of immigrants. In the worst case scenario, you never get more immigrants than the first 20. Really hard situation, unnecessary. So the Axe of Brains sounds absolutely dope. The Channel of Kisses, the Muscular Standard. We're going to go with the Muscular Standard because that's a absolutely ridiculous name. As you see, they all have healthy populations, so it's all fine. So now, find embark location opens up a filtering system which allows you to look here on the map for whatever stuff you have on your mind, because it would be absolutely mind-shattering to find what you're looking for on your own, because if you click in anything here left, there's a bajillion areas here. Right click zooms back out. So the world here in this game is really stupidly large. All these little specks are already taken regions, so that's one thing. to note, and the rest is pretty self-explanatory. So we want to find now that's those areas which have copper and tin. I also want to have light aquifer and no heavy aquifer, because heavy aquifers are really spicy territory, which is actually only hard and not really rewarding. So the next thing here, oh wait, let's go over these first. So here you can go and define the environs a little bit more detailed. I don't want to do this here specifically. And river banks and whatnot. We are just looking here that the area has copper and tin. These are the materials we need to make bronze. Everything else I leave up to the environments, because this is already me being quite picky. And as you see here now, the filters are being applied, and the bright green spots are the areas that are matching to our request. So let's check on out where we want to settle down. So first off, you can always look like roleplay-ish ideas. So the muscular standard, they live down here, the blue highlighted settlements. So these areas would actually make sense roleplay-wise, but it's up to you. I just wanted to give you a sort of an impression. So let's zoom in here, and here we now see that we got this these green specks here. So when you mouse over there, you must know that every little dot here, I want to show you how large one dot is. Never mind me what I'm doing here. So here, every single, you see that that's one unit, that's one grid on this map. Every single grid has its own parameters and its own environment, and we always settle on one set of these grids. As you see here, you can even define how large your embarkation site should be. This also defines how large the map is that you're going to play on. So if you want to make your map larger than that, you can set this up like that. If you want to have larger embarks than 6 on 6, you can also do and define that in the advanced world generation configs, but you need to do that. So now when you mouse over here, you see on the right screen there now some readout. In the uppermost section, we see the name, how the temperature, the trees, and the vegetation. Pretty straightforward stuff. Down there, things get a little bit more complicated. We see if there's clay and sand, if there's soil, light aquifer, and if there's any metals, they will get shown here as well. But as you see here, only one of these grids is showing the silver, copper, tin density. So overall, this hints me that in this area there's really not too much metal, because only one of the embarkation grids has the required metals. So we look over something else. So here you see my cursor is not going away from silver, copper, tin. So this is a very nice area. We could now go for this here, but I think I've already made my decision. I think I want to live here. You could now go, of course, for the other sites and check them out. There's only one thing that I want to mention here. Surroundings is giving you a implication about how wild the environment is, and Untamed Wilds is basically giving you a higher frequency of giant animals and dangerous stuff that's roaming the surface. And there's also good aligned areas, so joyous wilds, such stuff. This is where you find unicorns and generally mythical good creatures. And there's also evil lands. If there is something like terrifying, haunted, or anything like that, you should only know that these are the hardest possible areas that the game has in store for you to settle down at, because in evil biomes there can be literally a weather phenomenon that rots the skin off of your people when they're just standing outside. I'm not over exaggerating. So if you ever settle down on an evil biome, know that you are in for a hot ride. So, but I'm getting sidetracked here. So this location is pretty cool because I like it insofar as it seems to have a very high density of the desired metals. We have trees in the density of woodland. It's a freshwater marsh situation, so let's see what that means. All the biomes are very different, and this looks like a cool place to settle down. And with this method, you can practically find everything you want. You can define the mask to search up spots as you see fit. for me, this is what we're going to roll with in the course of this tutorial series. We go now for the embark, and in this box, this is really important to know. Always check out if there's one line showing up that you're settling down in the vicinity of a necromancer's tower. If you get that warning, you should immediately reconsider this spot, because necromancer tower vicinity means these guys will attack you as soon as possible. And settling down near a necromancer's tower is one of the hardest scenarios playable. Settling down near a necromancer's tower on an evil biome is even harder, but you get the idea what I'm trying to say, so really be careful with that. Here we only get a warning about the light aquifer, but that's something I'm intending to do, so let's confirm. So for this run, I'm not going to go with a careful preparation. You might ask now why we are interested in that, but the simple answer to that is the careful preparation is very, very detailed. You get to configure every single dwarf completely in your starting roster, and I personally find that very, very complicated, and the Play Now button gives you an assortment of everything you need. The party is very well rounded. The equipment you start with is pretty well sorted, and it gives you a good start without bothering too much. The big downside of the Play Now button versus careful preparation is your animals are randomly rolled, and that sucks because sometimes you just don't even have a breeding pair of animals, and sometimes they don't fit together. So that's the real big bummer so far, considering myself. But since I don't want to go too deep into that process, and I'm not enjoying myself right now in generating every single dwarf for this scenario, because it is not necessary. If it would be necessary, if there will be ever an experts tutorial series, I will go for that. But this is stuff way far away in the future. This is also the end of our episode 0, because now we're hitting play now, and this is going to be where glowing paints is going to be settled down, and the rest will follow in episode 1. I thank you for watching. I hope you found this this was helpful for you, giving you some understanding in the world creation process and the ideas behind the scenario. And I hope you will journey with me through this tutorial series, where we will set up a fine fortress in this environment here right from the get-go. Unlike the beginner's tutorial series, there will be no blundering, foolish things at the beginning, just a solid, well-maintained fortress and how to get there. So, thanks for watching. Leave me your comments, your questions, whatever might be on your mind. A thumbs up would be totally appreciated, because that makes everybody find this video easier. And of course, consider subscribing. This helps this channel insanely. And if you want to stay updated with all the stuff I publish, just hit the bell thing. There is, like I said, links in the playlist links in the description box if you want to look for all the other Dwarf Fortress stuff I did. Check them out. And last but not least, thanks to all the supporters of this channel. You guys are really amazing in your support. Thanks to all the new supporters that have shown up lately. There are links to Patreon, PayPal, and Buy Me a Coffee down there. If you might want to check them out, I'd be deeply appreciating that. If not, rest assured that I am really happy about everybody who's going with me through the ad roll in the end, and it's still around here. And I hope you will accompany me through this upcoming series. So have a good one, and see you soon.